There's really not a lot of steps.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. We're joined by Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera, Marianne Goodland, Director of Revenue Mark Ferrandino, Treasurer Dave Young, Senator Nick Henriksen from Pueblo, Representative Tony Exum from Colorado Springs, Representative Doherty, and Dennis, a Colorado taxpayer who will soon be getting his check. We could have any of the several million Coloradans up here, but Dennis, we chose you. So thanks for representing us. We're also joined by Speaker Garnett and President Fenberg. And we're here today because Colorado cash back checks are already in the mail system, and they should start hitting mailboxes later this week, early next week. And that's the first checks. They will take a week or two to get out. Don't worry if you don't get yours until the end of August with mail forwarding and everything else. Most people will probably get them next week, the week after, vast majority. But again, don't worry until the end of August. And if you don't get it, we're going to tell you what to do. Because do you lose out on it? Absolutely not. You still get it. You paid taxes last year. We'll make sure you know how to get it. Like anything, we expect 99% of them to show up in mailboxes, no problem. And then if you're in the 1% where the mail was lost or you moved and it went to the wrong place, you didn't get it, you will still get it. Best of all, if you haven't yet filed taxes for 21, and obviously if you had income that it was taxable, you were legally required to do that. But for some people who don't have taxable income, they might not have filed. You can still do that and you will get the refund. So as long as you file by October 17th, for the 2021 tax year, and Mark Ferrandino will tell you how to do that, you absolutely will still get your Colorado cash back, and you'll get that in December or January. This is money going back into the pockets of hard-working Coloradans. Refunds going to every Colorado taxpayer, $750 per person, $1,500 for joint filers. And we know that Coloradans need that relief now, and we're doing everything in our power to deliver it. So let's talk about how we got here. How are people able to get the $750 back? It's a combination of a number of different things. One is we're bucking national trends on our strong economic growth. Great levels of income, high tax receipts, above levels of projection, income taxes, sales taxes, well above the spending limits in our state constitution. So number one, great economy. The money wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the strong economy. We have more Coloradans employed now than we did before the pandemic, and we have an unemployment rate below the national unemployment rate. Number two, the legislature took action to accelerate this refund mechanism. This is money that people would have gotten back next year. We moved it up about a year, 9 or 10 months. Why? Because you need it now, obviously. Does anybody want the government sitting on your money for 10 months? I don't think anybody wants that. So let's get it back to you now when you need it. You're dealing with gas prices, you're dealing with rent, back to school if you have kids. We know that you can use this money rather than sitting in Treasurer Dave Young's coffers for a year. We'll just get it back to you because you know how to spend it. With this refund is also larger because of actions that the legislature took, and I want to talk briefly about that. The legislature acted to close tax loopholes that benefited the well-connected and big corporations that increased the size of this refund by $34 to $50, right? We think closer to 50. By the scoring at the time, it was 34, but what happened is every tax came in above projections. So, let's call it about $50 more because of closing down tax loopholes that benefited the well-connected. That same legislation also funded a child tax credit and an earned income tax credit. So those are additional tax credits. Those don't go out right now. They go out next April. Very excited about that. It means a lot to families. But this is a larger check because of closing down loopholes. It is a faster check because of the action of the legislature, and we don't want it to sit for a year when you need it. Because this money means a lot to you today. We get it. You're worried about price of groceries, gas. If you're planning a summer vacation, airfares have gone up. So whatever makes the most sense for you and your life and your needs, how you spend or save or invest this money is up to you. It's your money. It's important to note that checks will be going out over the next couple weeks. And again, don't worry. At the end of August, if for some reason you haven't gotten it, if you're in that 1 or 2% of people, we'll absolutely give you the phone number, the way to do it. But your neighbors, you'll start hearing people are getting it in the next week or so. So don't panic. Be patient. You'll probably get it in the next couple weeks. For more information, visit coloradocashback.com. Has all of the great information about what to do if you don't get it, who's eligible, any questions about that. But we know that you need your hard-earned money back. We're really excited to have increased the amount by about $50, brought it to you about a year earlier, as well as delivering on the income tax cut, additional funds to be refunded next April, and renewal of the senior homestead exemption, along with a record property tax cut, which will take effect lower rates on your property tax next year. So you'll notice that in 23 and 24. It was a 2-year property tax cut. Now I'll turn it over to Colorado Department of Revenue Executive Director Mark Ferrandino.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, everyone. I'm excited to be here today and to say that we have started the process of issuing over 2.4 million payments. That equates to over 3.1 million Coloradans who will be receiving these checks over the next month. And really thanks to the House and Senate for passing this important legislation. Colorado Cashback is a TABOR refund for any year-long Colorado resident, so anyone who lived in Colorado for all of 2021 and is at least 18 years of old during that time, they're eligible for this refund. If you lived in Colorado during that time and you have filed your state income tax, you are in those 2.4 million checks that are going out right now and you'll be receiving in August. As the governor said, if you have not filed your income tax, and that doesn't mean you have to have income. If this is a sales tax refund, so as long as you've lived in Colorado for the full year, you are eligible. On the Department of Revenue's website is instructions of how to file an income tax, including a zero income tax. And we are putting up a video soon to help additional resources to how to file those. So if you file by October 17th, and there's been some questions about extensions, I didn't file a federal extension. You don't need to have filed a federal extension. The state doesn't require any extension filing, so all you need to do is go on the system, file your taxes by October 17th, and that could be a zero income tax, and you will get your check by January of 23. As the governor said, we are hoping to get those out as soon as possible. Everyone is eligible and will get the $750 or $1,500. We do have individuals, about 1% to 2%, who have intercepts where they either owe something because to the state, to the courts, child support. Those will be intercepted, and some will get the full amount will be intercepted. That's less than 1% of checks, and then another about 0.5% will have some amount deducted to be able to pay those debts off. A lot of those are child support. And I know many are excited by this. As the governor said, really want to make sure people have the time. The checks are starting to get in the mail. They will take some time, but we have stood up a call center for the Colorado Cashback. It'll be started staffing tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But we're asking people to let the mail work it through its process and reach out. But if people have questions, especially at the end of August, if they don't, they can call us at 303-951-4996. That's 303-951-4996. Or you can visit the Colorado Cashback website to get more answers to your questions. So with that, I will turn it over to Treasurer Dave Young.
Thank you, Director Ferrandino. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Governor, for signing the bill, legislative leaders and the legislature for passing the Colorado Cashback. This is really an important program for people at this moment. These are TABOR tax refunds, and they're coming through one mechanism out of 4 of TABOR refunds. Our staff has been working closely with Director Ferrandino's staff to make sure that we actually manage our investments and have the cash available so that these payments can go out. And we know how important that is. There are families across the state, even though we have a strong economy, that really need this money now, and the cashback program is new because it actually delivers this money to taxpayers now instead of waiting until next year. So very important process, and the other piece of this is that there's a level of equity. So lower income earners are going to get more. Everybody gets the same amount of money, but they'll be getting more than they would have under traditional mechanisms that we had for getting refunds back. So we know that folks are going to be pumping this money into the economy as well. There's strong need out there. And so we want people to be looking at their mailboxes soon. And as Director Ferrandino said, if you have not seen the checks by the end of August, go to the website or make the call to make sure you are on the list and that we have the right address and that we can get the checks to you. But look for them soon, and they should be on their way. And with that, I want to turn this over to one of the bill sponsors, Representative Tony Exum.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, a lot of people have been asking me questions about TABOR and what it means, and they just want us to show them the money. They don't really care about the mechanisms and whatnot. They just want to see the checks, and so that's what we're doing here. It's exciting news that the Colorado cashback checks will be soon on their way. People across our state need this help right now, and because of our strong economy and our actions, critical assistance will be in the mailboxes in the coming weeks. I know the struggles many people are going through, and I see it every day in my community in Colorado Springs. People are working harder and harder to pay for critical necessary like housing and food. These Colorado cashback checks will help people. For many families, this could cover more, a month or more of groceries. Some people will use it for their checks to help pay their rent or mortgage. Other folks may save money for later in the year, maybe for back-to-school supplies, holiday gifts, for their family. For every Colorado, these checks will make a real difference. And they're coming now instead of in April or in March because of the actions we took. As the governor said, there's no reason for the government should hold on to your money when they don't have to. So we came up with a plan to send the money back as soon as possible. This plan builds on our work in recent years to save people money and significantly boost the economy of hardworking people. In just a few years, we've passed laws that have put thousands of dollars back in the people's pockets. We doubled earned income tax, increased the child care tax credit, reduced property taxes by $700 million, created a $100 million housing tax credit for seniors, and lowered taxes on Social Security benefits. Families are going to save money with free universal preschool, and starting next year, the Colorado Option Health Insurance Plan will offer a lower cost plan for people across the state, while the new prescription drug affordability broad cuts the cost of drugs. These are all significant achievements that will help millions of Coloradans with the rising cost of living as we move Colorado forward. And now I'll introduce one of my colleagues, Senator Hendrickson from Pueblo.
Thank you, Representative Exum. Good afternoon. It's great to be here with you all today to discuss this important work to expedite badly needed relief for working Colorado families. I know firsthand what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. When I was honorably discharged from the Army, I moved to Pueblo with my wife and our son, and things were tight. A few extra $100 would have certainly gone a long way as we rearranged our finances to make sure we could put food on the table while keeping a safe, stable roof over our heads. And between pandemic-fueled inflation and continuing disruptions throughout the global economy, the rising cost of living for Puebloans and Coloradans who are experiencing that paycheck-to-paycheck experience, it puts an exclamation point on it. And that's why I carried this bill to expedite badly needed relief checks for Pueblo families through the Colorado Cashback Program. The bill does two things. It gets relief to people now when they need it most and when it has the most purchasing power. As you've heard, the checks will start hitting the mailbox now, so you'll be getting that relief now rather than when the snow melts next spring. And it gives the vast majority of Colorado taxpayers more money than they would have received without this legislation. For individual filers, we've heard $750 and $1,500 for joint filers. For the average Pueblo family, That's over $400 more than they would have received under traditional TABOR mechanisms. And thanks to the hard work that's been done here the past few years to budget responsibly, our economic recovery from the pandemic is among the best in the nation. This relief couldn't come at a better time, and it's important that every Colorado taxpayer take advantage and make sure they receive their Colorado cashback check. I know we've talked today a lot already about the resources available to help folks get their checks, but my message to Pueblo is this. If you need help accessing your refund or have questions, please get in touch with me or visit the website coloradocashback.com. I'm proud to have championed this legislation that will benefit hardworking Coloradans and give them the boost they need to help their families, neighbors, and communities thrive. Thank you for being here. I'd like to turn it over now to Representative Doherty. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone, and it's very exciting to be here. I was very thrilled to work on this bill with my colleagues and the governor. We know that Coloradans, through no fault of their own, are struggling to pay for groceries, housing, and more. Families are making difficult choices every day, and they need help now. That's why we took decisive action to send refund checks as soon as possible, which will start landing in mailboxes in the coming weeks, instead of waiting to send the checks in March or April of next year. Coloradans are getting their money back earlier when they need it most because we passed the Colorado Cashback Plan. Families need their cash back now, and that's what we delivered. These checks are going to make a big difference for a lot of families. The reason we have $2.7 billion in surplus revenue to refund through the Colorado Cashback Plan is because of Colorado's strong job gains that have outpaced the nation and because of our concrete steps to close tax loopholes on the very wealthy and largest corporations. Report after report shows that Colorado has emerged from the pandemic stronger than our neighboring states. This comeback was the direct result of our resilient economy, responsible management of state government, and the Colorado Comeback State Stimulus Plan. The Colorado Cashback Plan means more Coloradans will benefit from the economic growth we've generated and the tax loopholes we closed, and they will benefit sooner, which is absolutely critical right now. Thank you to my colleagues, again in the legislature, for passing the cashback plan and ensuring that Coloradans will get their checks when they need them the most. The actions we took are saving Coloradans money, putting thousands of dollars back into the pockets of hardworking families, and helping more Coloradans address the inflationary pressures they are feeling now. Thank you, and with that, I would love to turn it over to Dennis Tonsiger.
Hello, my name is Dennis Tonsiger. I'm a 45-year resident of Adams County, and I'm a retired Colorado taxpayer. I'm glad to be here with you today to talk about what this relief will mean for my family. Like so many fellow Coloradans, rising costs have been difficult to swallow, especially essentials like gas and groceries. The Colorado Cashback is a chance to get some breathing room, and I see it as well as a promise kept by Governor Polis and the state of Colorado. There are many people who don't file their tax returns, and I'm here to encourage everyone eligible to file as soon as possible. By not filing, you're leaving money on the table that could go a long way in your life, especially if you're living on a fixed income. Personally, I'm looking forward to use this money for car and air conditioning repairs. With the price of gas, we'll also set aside some of this money for that particular expense. We're supporters of the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Keensburg, Colorado, and plan to make a donation to support this worthy organization. I want to thank Governor Polis, Treasurer Young, and our legislative leaders for their work to help all Coloradans. I'll be looking forward soon to the check in my mailbox. Thank you all.
effectiveness. My priority as governor to make sure that we have a division that can respond effectively to emergencies and disasters, and of course that our state personnel policies are followed. And we want to make sure that we can be more efficient in government so we can do what people want us to do and put more money back in people's pockets, like the $750 and $1,500 refund. Marshall?
I'll ask you about this. You signed a bill 3 years ago that put Proposition CC on the ballot, which you supported, wanting the state to keep TABOR refund. Voters rejected that. Here today, you brag about enhancing and adding to the TABOR refund. How is it transparent to, A, not call it a TABOR refund, and B, not say, this is money I would rather the state keep, and I added to that, and I'd rather keep that too, but I have to give it back?
So first of all, as I think 2 or 3 of us up here have said, including me, this is one of the TABOR refund mechanisms. So I don't think that's on the website on Colorado Comeback Cash. No one ever has indicated it's not. It is a TABOR refund mechanism. It's one of 4. It's a new one that we created so to get people their money back now rather than hold on to it, right? In addition to this, there's an income tax cut for everybody in Colorado this year, 4.55% to 4.5%. I'm a strong supporter of that. There's also a senior homestead exemption for all of our seniors that have been homeowners, property tax relief, in addition to the property tax relief for everybody. It's on top of that. We also created a side program that provides relief for seniors that are renters, that are medium income. This will be for the first time. They won't get, that'll come next year. That'll come April. And of course, the 6-tier refund mechanism, additional money will be refunded next April. So absent action, nobody would be getting this $750 back now, $1,500 back now. People would get it back in some form in the future in different ways. We know that people need it now. With regard to, you know, we as on the budget side say, is it over TABOR, is it under TABOR? We have supported tax cuts with money both above and under TABOR. And I'll give you an example. The property tax cut, which is 23 and 24, people don't see it yet, but they'll see it in 2023, 2024, your property tax rate will go down. A small part of that was funded with the TABOR refund. A bigger part of it was funded with one-time money the state had that we wanted to get back out to save homeowners money. So for instance, had CC passed, we could fund the $750 refund to everybody. It would be out of one-time money we had. We would have sent it out. The money would still be there. The money doesn't disappear, and it's not ongoing money. There could have been a debate with the legislature. Do we want to use it on this or that? But I certainly would have, and I'm an advocate, whether it's on the above or below side, of getting money back out to people when they need it with rising costs. So I hope I explained that adequately, Marshall. Any follow-ups on that?
2 quick things.
Yeah.
You're saying if CC passed, you'd be doing 750 as a stimulus, quote unquote.
Yeah, I support the same policy. I mean, I'll give you an example. When there was a gap in the pandemic, the Fed and Congress wasn't able to pass continued unemployment, the legislature worked with us to send a one-time payment to people who were unemployed. Really important. It was in December. Congress wasn't going to act. We got that out. And to be clear, that was not TABOR surplus money. That was one-time money. So this is a good policy wherever the money comes from, because people are struggling with rising prices. We shouldn't sit on their money. The state has a strong budget surplus. The state has one-time funds. We need to get them back out.
Is this your moment where you defend and support TABOR
Yeah.
from here on out?
My position on TABOR has always been that I'm in the mend it but don't end it camp, right? I support elements of it, like the right to vote on tax increases. Coloradans value that. I value that. I think people should have a say in that. What the formula looks like, of course, has some flaws. And I'll give you an example. This year, the nation, the world, has relatively high inflation, right? But we are, the spending in the budget reflects 3.1% inflation. We're in a year that is 8 or 9% inflation. Now, it'll catch up in a future year. There'll be an 8 or 9% increase in the state budget. There might only be 3% inflation. We don't know what it's going to be that year. So I would like to see some timing issues addressed in TABOR. Absolutely, I think that we should work on how that works in terms of those limits, and we can and we should do better. But this is a good policy, regardless of whether it's money from under TABOR or over TABOR. I gave you examples of money under TABOR that we also sent back out to people. And I'll give you another example, a permanent tax cut we did, eliminating the sales tax from diapers and feminine hygiene products. That is expressed as below TABOR because that is in effect even in years when there's not a TABOR surplus. That is a permanent tax cut. Nobody, just like you don't pay tax on groceries, you shouldn't have to pay a sales tax on diapers and feminine products. They are necessities. No Coloradan in the future will ever pay that tax, regardless of whether we're over or under the TABOR limit.
Next question, Jesse.
Sean. Then we'll go to Jesse.
You're calling this
Yeah.
Colorado cashback.
Yeah.
It's a TABOR refund. I'm not just being honest with
Yeah.
you. I call it Colorado cashback.
Well, the press is calling it Colorado cashback. We say it's one of the 4 TABOR refund mechanisms, right? The state income tax cut. If you want to name it something else, Sean, you're welcome to. A rose is a rose. What people value is it's $750 or $1,500. That's what it is. This didn't exist before. And again, we have an income tax cut. That's one of the TABOR refund mechanisms. We have the senior homestead exemption. That's another TABOR refund mechanism. We have the 6-tier sales tax refund mechanism, the most complicated and obscure of all of them. That will still be in effect, and people will get some money back next April. And now we have Colorado Comeback Cash as one of the TABOR refund mechanisms, the newest one.
But still, you don't see the irony of standing up there celebrating something that you've railed against in the past, TABOR?
This is great news for Coloradans. And again, whether we were above or below the TABOR limit, this is the exact same policy that I would have supported, and the state legislature has a track record of supporting similar policies with money that was below the TABOR limit. But you're caught up on accounting procedures when what matters is we're celebrating Coloradans getting $750 back, $1,500 back, rather than the government sitting on their money for up to a year longer. People need it now, and that's why this action was so important, to get it back to people when they need it, rather than having the government sit on it.
Governor, will you, and I guess the legislative leaders here, will you guys commit to doing the flat rate refunds in future years instead of the 6-tier? And then secondarily, if we don't have a TABOR surplus next year and economic conditions persist, will you push for billions of dollars to be refunded to people even if we don't go above the cap? I think that's what you just said. Whether it's below or above, you'd still refund money.
What was your first one?
Will you commit to doing the flat rate?
Yeah, well, I think, you're going to find different opinions from every elected official on, these matters. And so what I think is what's important right now is to get money to people, $750, $1,500. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand why, because people are struggling with costs. Dennis talked about how his family is. We are all hearing from our constituents how they're struggling with rising costs. So this policy made sense. It would make just as much sense if this was one-time money we had, and we did send out one-time money in many other ways that was below the TABOR limit, including the property tax cut, which was funded primarily by non-TABOR funds. That was mostly a property tax cut. The backfill came from one-time funds under TABOR. As I said, here's kind of the difference on below TABOR and above TABOR funds. Below TABOR, the legislature can spend them either directly or as tax expenditures. Above TABOR, the legislature can only spend them as tax expenditures. There are still just as broad a variety of tax expenditures as there are direct expenditures under TABOR. What the legislature said, and we agree with this, is people need the money now. Let's move it up. Let's not sit on it. You need $750. Let's get it to you. The discussion of the future will be made in the future. It also depends on what the needs of the time are. Right now, the biggest challenge is rising prices, and people need money back right away to do with rising groceries and gas. Depending on what's needed in the future, we look forward to working with Republicans and Democrats in the legislature to find the best ways to not only cut taxes and fees, but get money back to people quickly.
Last question, Marianne. Governor, you've long advocated for reduction in the state income tax. There's a ballot measure this fall that will do just that. Do you support it?
So obviously you've noticed that this, again, there's going to be many different opinions from everybody up here. On this one-time mechanism, it did not impact the existing income tax reduction in state law. So income tax is lower this year because it triggered the bipartisan deal, Andrew Romanoff, Bill Owens, still in effect, that is one of 3 and now one of 4 TABOR refund mechanisms. I generally am supportive of cutting the income tax. I've made that clear. My goal would be a 0% income tax. We've already, it's been cut twice in my administration. I prefer, of course, the opportunity to work with the legislature, do that on a temporary basis. We haven't been successful at that yet. Of course, I am also supportive of permanent tax cuts as well.